Let's discuss the Trump transition and more with Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden of Wisconsin. He serves on the House Veteran Affairs Committee and is also a retired Navy SEAL. And Congressman, I wanted to start there. First, thank you so much for joining us. Your thoughts on the president-elect's recently announced pick for Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan. He's not someone who has military experience or any significant public connection to the Navy or the Pentagon. He's someone who founded a private investment company. He was a large donor to Trump's reelection campaign, we should note. Do you think Phelan has the right qualifications to be Secretary of the Navy?
Well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm also on the House Agriculture Committee, so when you're eating your Thanksgiving feast tomorrow, make sure you thank a farmer. You know what? I'm the longest serving enlisted member of the United States military to ever be elected to Congress in the history of our nation. I have multiple combat tours as a United States Navy SEAL, and I'm completely comfortable with our incoming SecNav. The reason being is that we need somebody that's able to make sure that they can lay out a strategic vision and then follow through with it. That's what the Navy's about, projecting strategic power through keeping sea lanes open. And I have the utmost confidence that our incoming secretary is going to be able to do just that, because he understands that in order to get things done, you have to be able to put something above yourself. He's done that in the private sector, putting the company and the welfare of his stockholders above himself. And he's going to be able to do that as the incoming SecNav by putting the United States of America, our well-being and the well-being of our allies above himself.
Congressman, I am glad that you mentioned agriculture. It is a huge part of Wisconsin's economy. Your home state exports something like $2 billion worth of food products to Mexico, Canada, and China alone. What happens to farmers in your state if those countries decide to slap retaliatory tariffs on their goods?
Let's remember that 75+% of all exports from Mexico and about 85% of all exports from Canada go into the United States of America. So if you want to talk about negotiating from a position of strength, it's not Trudeau and the new president of Mexico, it's President Donald Trump. We have to make sure that we have a level playing field. Canada, unfortunately, has decided to not follow the regulations, or excuse me, the USMCA agreement, and they're eating our lunch with our dairy farmers. Mexico is doing the same thing across the board with a lot of our different commodities. Brazil is gutting out our corn and ethanol industry. So what we need is someone that's going to stand up for the American farmer, because when the American farmer has a level playing field, they will be able to produce enough food to feed our country and the world. This is historically proven, and I'm really looking forward to getting this done.
Congressman, as you know, farmers generally, and especially dairy farmers, were seriously impacted during the first Trump administration because of his trade policies. U.S. farm bankruptcies jumped some 20% back in 2019, and that's despite the Trump administration spending billions of dollars to bail out farmers. You're not concerned that another trade war would ultimately atrophy their businesses and have a lot of farmers at risk of having to close up shop?
You know what I'm very concerned about is the fact that the Democrat-controlled Senate was 2 years late in producing their homework. That's called the Farm Bill text. So in the Farm Bill text, which was passed by the Republican House through a committee in a bipartisan manner last year, we lay out the conditions to make sure that all dairy industry, from our small farmers to the larger, to our larger producers, to our row croppers, to everybody in the entire spectrum of folks that are producing food, have the ability to do so at a level playing field. So I'm deeply disappointed that the Democrat-controlled Senate did not get the bill to us. What we're going to try to do before the end of the year is get Title I, that's commodities, and Title XI, which is crop insurance, peeled off and make sure that stuff passes. In addition to that, we also want to get whole milk for healthy kids through both the House and the Senate, and have President Biden sign it into law. And what that will do was radically change the dairy market as we know it, and we're going to get rid of all the reforms that they tried in 2010 and got an entire generation of kids not drinking milk. So if we get our whole milk for healthy kids, Title I and Title XI through, with an abbreviated version of the Farm Bill that's going to be attached to a emergency bill, the farmers, in particular our dairy farmers, are going to be in good shape.
There are serious concerns about the way that these tariffs could potentially wind up hitting consumers, and there's a belief that these tariffs could be inflationary, not just on one hand the tariffs, but also the potential for disruption of supply chains if Donald Trump's mass deportation plans were to take effect. There are estimates from the USDA that show nearly half of all agricultural workers in this country are undocumented, including, by at least one count, a majority of dairy workers. How is the Trump administration planning to mass deport those workers without disrupting the nation's supply of food?
Well, here's what's really been inflationary. The last 4 years of the radical, out of control Biden spending with this Inflation Reduction Act. That's what has caused inflation. And if it means that I have to pay more for guacamole, but fentanyl poison does not come across the Canadian and Mexican border, and our mothers and sisters and brothers and daughters aren't poisoned to death by this chemical that's coming across the borders, I'm willing to pay more for guacamole, as is the rest of the United States of America. And we got to understand that. This is not a political statement. It's not a Republican or a Democrat issue or independent or libertarian. We're sick and tired of our children and our neighbors dying from fentanyl poisoning. There's not a single person listening to this show right now that is farther than 1 degree separated from someone that has died from fentanyl poisoning. And that's exactly what President Trump is getting to with these tariffs.
Congressman, I wholeheartedly understand your point about fentanyl poisoning. I myself have friends who served in the U.S. Armed Services who are no longer with us because of it. It is an epidemic, but it doesn't completely answer the question about keeping the food supply chain intact if you're going to deport roughly half of that workforce. How is that going to work?
Let's remember, for the first time in the longest time, we are a net importer of foods. So under Biden's war on agriculture, which is what it's been from the war on energy, because the input costs are what's incredibly important. That goes from fuel to seed to nutrients. We have become a net importer of food. So when we get rid of the disastrous Joe Biden and Kamala Harris Green New Deal war on agriculture, we're going to be able to produce enough food here in the United States for ourselves. When people say food security is national security, it's not some glib little statement that you throw out. It really means something. If you're incapable as a nation of providing food for your own country, you are by definition beholden on other nations. And I'm not concerned that we're going to not be able to produce enough food here in the United States. I just simply am not. We have an E-Verify system that is marginally at best functioning, but we'll make sure that we have the folks that are here legally and lawfully here to make sure that we can produce our food.
Congressman Derek Van Orden, we have to leave the conversation there. I can hear some company in the background, so we'll let you enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Hey, listen, Sarah Jean and I have 11 grandchildren, and those are 3 of them over there. And you know what that is, man? That's the sound of joy, and it's the sound of freedom. So I hope everybody watching this, I just wish that God would bless you and your families, and you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And don't forget, you thank a farmer when you say your prayers over your dinner tomorrow night.
I'm sure the farmers in Wisconsin are thrilled to hear your shout out to them. Congressman Derek Van Orden, thank you again for the time, and happy Thanksgiving. Look forward to continuing the debate soon.
Yes, sir. You take care.